Hello, welcome to the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Miguel Illescas, and we are going to do the video recap of the rounds 4 and 5 and 6 of the World Chess Championship Candidates Tournament, which is taking place in Madrid. Let me start with a game of round 4 between Rapport and Nakamura, two players with the 50%. They seem to play a quite solid game, but I want to show you how difficult it is today modern chess. White prepared this idea just to force black to take on d4, and now suddenly we are going to reach an endgame that, according to I don't know, orthodox understanding, white would be better here. Look, it's 4 pawns versus 3, and black has double pawns on the queen side, so according to all standards this could be better for white. But of course Nakamura knew well this position, and we will see that in a few moves he's going to reach a very comfortable position even with some initiative. Look, he improves the king and now very fast he gets some space advantage on the queen side, making some pressure, and very important, he's going to get g5 square for his knight. Look at this. In this moment his knight somehow is pressing on e4, still he cannot take, of course. And white wanted to play knight e3, but now he can't because knight f5. So, sorry, because knight e4. So Rapport went knight a5. This looks very interesting because for black it's difficult to protect these pawns. He should come with the rook to b8, which is quite poor. But instead, Naka, he knew what he was going to do. Of course, he cannot take. We already said he's going to lose the knight, but he went h4. He's grabbing space on the king side, and white has to be careful, because if h3 coming, and one day some knight f3 and the pawn on h2 may fall. So now of course knight b7 is met with rook b8 and b2 is hanging. That's why Rapport played rook d3, and very soon the game went completely equal after a few moves. This is already not so exciting. We will see fast. Black, I mean, is a pawn down, but his pieces are very active, and in fact it is white who has to be careful not to lose this position. Finally, they trade everything, and a draw was agreed on move 44. Let me show you one of the most important games of round 4. One of the leaders, young Nepomniachtchi, was playing with the white pieces against Alireza Firouzja. This was a real test for the French-Iranian player, because he was already on -1, and it was very important for him to play well here against one of the leaders. Nepo was on +1. They were following a very sharp variation of the Najdorf Sicilian defense, and it looks like, in my opinion, Firouzja preparation is not so good in this tournament. Look at this. He was playing, both players were playing very fast till this moment, move 15. At this position, Nepo was thinking for 9 minutes. This was probably meaning that his knowledge was already finished, and that he had to play on his own from this position on move 16. He went king b1, which is very natural, leaving c1 square for the knight. In fact, after e4, knight bc1 and d5. Firouzja blitzing his moves, so we have to assume that he was on his preparation. But now something very strange is going to happen. Nepo found, after 5 minutes, he found probably the best move, pawn to f6. Black's idea, if pawn takes d5, it's probably knight d6, and he may get very good compensation for the pawn sacrifice with a good blockade. But in the game, it went f6. It's a pawn sacrifice, which makes a lot of sense, because after g takes f6, white has sometimes the move knight g3. And if you switch on the computer here, of course Firouzja played gf6 instantly, if he was still on his preparation. And if you check the computer, as I said, now it offers the best move knight g3. And I think this was Firouzja preparation. Nepo instead went g takes f6, which is also very natural. And at this moment, black started to think. Alireza, he spent 6 minutes before taking knight df6, the most natural move. leaving the other knight to go to d6 or to protect the square in g7. Then Nepo, quite fast, very confident, he went knight g3. And at this moment, Firouzja started to think a long time. Finally, after half an hour, he made a mistake. This is very typical. When you think too much, sometimes you blunder. And his next move was really quite bad. We will see. You can ask yourselves, what would you play here? But it's very interesting. In general, I think I understand what happened on his head. I mean, look, his preparation probably after knight g3 here, following the main line of the computers, it was knight d6, take, take, bishop h6, and now black is forced to sacrifice the exchange. But according to the computer, it's quite good. King h8, take, take, and this position is very promising for black. I mean, white is exchange up, but for one pawn, and black is gonna organize some attack very soon on the king side. White has to be very careful. For example, if take, take, and now to take on b4 would be a bad mistake because a3, black takes. This is a sample line, but as you can see, black is getting a very strong attack now, knight c3, and probably black is winning. Okay, so this was probably Firouzja preparation, but after take knight df6, knight g3, he could go to his preparation with king h8 probably, or he could play also knight d6 if king h6, king h8, going to his preparation. But then he was thinking for half an hour, maybe trying to remember his analysis, or maybe trying to use the fact that white played a different move order, and it was a very bad idea. I don't know, I mean, this is typical when you prepare with computer positions which are difficult to play. I mean, this position is very difficult to play with both colors, especially with black, I would say. The king is very weak, and the knight on e8 is badly placed, so you need to know what you are doing. And after this mistake, bishop f1, he's gonna help white to get a very good position. King h8 was probably good. After take, take, white is getting some good compensation for the pawn, but not more, just compensation. Probably the position, according to the computer's analysis, it's around equal. But after bishop f1, we will see now d5 is gonna be hanging. And after king h8, white simply could take on d5. This could not be possible with the bishop on c4 because bishop takes d5 would follow. At this moment, it's very interesting what happened. I think Firouzja was already quite confused. The things were not going the way he prepared, and he wanted to bring his knight to d6, so this is what he did, knight d6. And it's quite interesting, I mean, to see Nepo's face. If you can watch the situation, he was very surprised, and he said, okay, come on, why not? I can take this pawn. And of course, it's completely for free. I mean, Firouzja was very much influenced by his preparation. You can see he wanted to reach the kind of position he was aiming for in his analysis, and then he made this very bad mistake, knight d6, because after queen takes b4, there is nothing for the pawn. I mean, if knight d4, now queen e1, and there is no bishop b4, as we saw in our previous analysis. Or if knight f5, queen e1, take, take, but there is not enough compensation for the pawn. White is weak, black is weak, and white pieces are very active. Black cannot reach this dream to bring the queen to b2. So after knight d6, queen b4, the game was basically over. I mean, black was left with a pawn down. Now the bishop coming to c3. After d6, of course, everything is hanging. He cannot take the pawn if bishop takes rook f6. So he had to play bishop d8. Black's position is getting terrible. I mean, he's a pawn down, and now white is perfect with the bishop on c3. It was very easy for Nepo to kill this game. Really, nothing really interesting here. Knight b2 is a very poor move. The knight is doing nothing there. Of course, this is not possible to take because the queen is hanging. And after a few moves, Nepo finished in style with rook h7 check. He sacrificed a rook just to get a decisive attack against the black king, rook g1 check. And Firouzja resigned. I mean, it's made in few moves. Okay, So you can see how a bad preparation can affect a player to forget about the most elementary prophylactic moves. I mean, in this position instead of 96, it was still possible to fight with queen c7. White is better, but there was some fight. Computer is showing lines like rook f6. Now d6 is coming if the knight takes, but bishop takes, d6. Of course, we can see here that after normal moves, white is going to be better. 94, bishop b4. But okay, I mean, this is already too far. And with this win, with this victory, Nepo went sole leader with +2, and Alireza went to the last place after losing 2 games with no wins. So now let's see another game of this round 4. We will see quite fast here because it's not so interesting. For a moment, Duda was pressing Teimur Radjabov, but f5 came, and black got solved all his problems. He got his pawn back, and equal position arised, and it was a draw. So these were games of round 4, with the last interesting game between Ding Liren and Caruana of the same round 4. This was a very interesting battle, very positional. Liren got some slight advantage here. He has the open file, and b6 is weak. And then Fabiano, he made a very clever decision. Very good move, rook c8, giving a pawn to get some activity. It looks like it's very dangerous, but really Fabiano, he calculated everything very well, and he's still pawn down, but he's very active with queen and knight. Now rook is coming to a8, and after the move queen c4, for a moment I thought he may have problems here, because the natural move rook c8 is probably not so good, but he found the move very precise, rook a8. Fantastic defense by Fabiano Caruana. Of course, he was suffering for a long time with a pawn down. Liren found a way to still be a pawn up, you can see, but well, they reached this endgame, and it was a draw, a move 64. I mean, white got 2 versus 1, and finally it was a draw. Not so easy for black, but very good defense from Fabiano Caruana. Okay, so we go to round 5 with 2 leaders. Nepo sole leader with +2, Caruana +1. Then round 5. The game Caruana Rapport was a very short draw, but a very complicated game, because look at the position after move 14. But it's clear that Caruana was a bit surprised by black's setup, and he didn't know how to use his development advantage. And in fact, at some point, the position looked dangerous for him. Here with a3, it looks like he cannot take because bishop takes c3, and well, it looks incredibly dangerous. But also black is in quite bad shape. So this is the typical position where both sides have serious problem, and finally the game ended in a repetition of moves at the move 24. So well, a fighted draw, still short, but quite intense. Caruana was keeping his position with +1, Rapport still with all drawn games. Amazing, no? The player with the most creative style, it's making all his games draw. Well, another important game of round 5 was Radjabov Liren. After 40 moves, we got this position, and Liren was really much better here. Look at this knight on g4. He's dominating the open file. This bishop is bad. This is a big problem for white, this bad bishop. And I am very surprised what happened here, because Liren, he had to make one move to the time control. It's move 40. And I don't know, but this move, this capture looks so natural. Bishop takes d4. He didn't play this move. This was very natural, because we kill a very active knight and we leave the opponent with a very bad bishop. Well, I mean, what else do you want? I mean, bishop takes d4 was so good. I think it was not so easy. There were some details. because, for example, if knight takes, we have to find moves like after queen a8, we want to enter queen h1 for mate, queen f3, and then we need to find this difficult move, knight d5. Well, I mean, now white is lost. I mean, white cannot help all the threats which are in the position. I can show you some ideas. For example, after rook c2, take, and now black to play and win. Can you find it? Yes, knight f4 check. The queen is hanging, so after queen takes, queen h1 mate. Well, this was one of the lines. The most natural was bishop d4, and now the problem for black is that if queen a8, white has bishop c5 and queen d8 check. Then, well, what to play? The natural move is knight f5, and now the point is that after bishop c5, maybe this is what Liren missed when calculating his move for it. Maybe he missed that now he can avoid the exchange of queens with queen c6. And it's very interesting to see that after check and check, black hides on g6, and now it's time to resign for white. Queen h1 is coming, and really white cannot do really anything to survive here. It's very interesting. I mean, of course, now queen h7 is made, but queen h1 is made first, one move earlier. So this was a critical moment in this game, but he played very poor move g6. And now his king will be weak. It will not have the place to hide. And after knight g5, which is a very precise move, now white can play queen f3 in a very good conditions. Now it's very different. We have queen f7 check. So, and also if knight f5, now bishop c5, and now there is no way to avoid queen d8 check, trading queens. So it was a draw after a few moves. They trade queens, and well, I mean, this was already not too interesting. A draw was agreed on move 50. Well, another missed opportunity for Liren, who already had several games with clear advantage, and he didn't convert any of them. So still the Chinese grandmaster and one of the favorites, he's still on -1 after this game on round 5. So what else happened in round 5? Well, there was a very boring draw between Firouzja and Duda. Very solid game, ended in a dead draw. And the other game of round 4 was very interesting, Nakamura Nepomniachtchi. I think the opening was quite bad for Nepo, because he mixed some lines and he made a bad mistake on move 16 in a Petrov. He went here, the right move is queen d6, but he went queen e4. And now he's going to be in big trouble after a few precise moves from Maka. We will see. Now the queen cannot find a good place. We can see that now he has a choice, queen d3 or queen b1, but the problem with queen b1 is d5. And the knight has not a good square, and after knight d8, rook e8, white is much better, probably winning here, because this ping, some moves coming like queen e7 maybe, and that's why he had to play queen d3, which is very scary, with the bishop on f1. This was really a moment where many people thought Nepo could lose for the first time in the tournament. And Naka was thinking a lot, but he could not find the right move. Can you find the way to play for white here? There is a very strong move, not easy. The point is that d5 is not good enough because knight d4, and take, and black escapes. And in the game, rook b2 was played, queen e4, rook e2, queen d3, and finally Naka went rook e3. He started to chase the queen, but he could not really do anything about it. I mean, d5, knight e7, and this was the last moment where he could get an advantage. He went knight d2 and he lost all his advantage in a few moves. We will see the final position. Really difficult for white to claim an advantage here. The knight is not bad on c6, but black kind of organized his defense. It was a repetition of moves draw on move 34. There were two moments where white could get an advantage. On move 25, instead of knight d2, he could play the more natural move, knight d4, attacking the bishop. And well, if black leaves the bishop on f5, white doesn't need to take. He can play queen d2, and some rook b3 is coming, bishop b2. it's very nice to play with white here. Probably black is going to lose the pawn on b7. And after knight d4, if bishop g6, then we have rook b3 and knight b5. This is very strong. c7 is hanging, and we can see equal material, but black's position is very dangerous. White is better. But even stronger was, more precise was in this moment, knight h4. This is not such a difficult move. The only thing you need to understand is that knight d4 is losing because rook d2. Now we attack the knight, and we win a piece with bishop b2. This is not so difficult to calculate for such a strong player like Nakamura. But after knight h4, if black cannot take on d4, he's in real trouble. I mean, because moves like d4 are now very strong. Knight d4, but now the knight is not on f3, and white can win with rook d2 and bishop b2, or even with rook e7 if bishop is on d7. So this was a very important moment of the tournament. Naka could reach +1, tying with Nepo, but instead the Russian player kept with his +2, and Naka still with 50%. This was a very important game of round 5. Then we went to round 6. All 4 games were drawn. Round 5 saw the same positions on the top standings: Caruana +1, Nepo +2. Now the game Radjabov Rapport trying to get something, but in this game it was crazy. I want to show you because it's quite amazing how these guys prepare. Modern chess, they go for a Taimanov, a red line with queen d3, but both guys very well prepared, playing very fast. It's amazing, no? So sharp line. They were both, as I said, playing very fast till this moment. After king d7, which is quite funny, then only in this moment Radjabov stopped to think for a while. He spent almost half an hour on his next move, bishop g5. It's quite strange move, allowing queen f3, doubling pawns. It's very complicated. I don't want to go too deep. Just that both players were out of book. Now Rapport was thinking for almost 20 minutes, rook f8. And the game, okay, I'm not going to go too deep, just to reach the critical moment where it looked like Rapport was close to win. Look, with rook takes b2 and bishop b4 check. This position is incredible. White is pawn down, his king is on f1, and now look at this move, knight g4. It was very interesting. These bishops are really not so good, doing not so much. And this was a very delicate position. Rook d1 was a mistake. White didn't play it because later the rook would be a target on d1, and he found one good move. Of course, if knight takes, then black gets a fantastic compensation. Look at this king on g1, the rook on h1. Probably it's still equal because one day rook h3 will follow. But in the game, Radjabov went f3, and now look at this, take, check, and bishop c5. It's black is almost mating the opponent, but really nothing happens. Radjabov had calculated quite well on defense, and after a few moves we reach this position. Black is 2 pawns up, but his dark squares are awful, and in fact white has full compensation. Now there is some attack against the black king. He has to be careful, and in fact he was not so careful, and in time travel we are going to witness one very interesting moment, move 36. At this moment white wants to enter with rook f1, rook f7, and the best move for black was rook f8. It was not easy, okay, just to avoid this maneuver. But he went rook g4 instead. But who needs more pawns? I mean, h4 is not so important. Black is already 2 pawns up. The priority should be to get some play for this bishop and to get a good position for the black king. He grabbed this pawn, which was a bad mistake. He should play c5 as soon as possible to get life for this bishop, but he grabbed this pawn on h4, check, and played rook e4. And now it's quite amazing because black is 3 pawns up, but probably lost according to the computer. But Radjabov didn't find the way to play. I mean, he went rook f7 just to make a draw, and this was, in fact, they agreed the draw here, perpetual check. But according to the computer, black is lost after bishop h2. It's amazing. Bishop h2, we want to play rook f7, rook c7 mate, and there is nothing to do. If c5, then here, and it's too late, it's checkmate. And if e5, then we have rook f7, rook a7, and the bishop is lost. So this was a very good opportunity for Radjabov to get out of the dark side of the standings. And Rapport was lucky to get this draw in a game completely crazy, which ended in a very strange way. So this was a very interesting game of round 6. These two players are still, well, not counting for the fight for the first place. And another critical game of this round 6 was Firouzja Caruana. The French really needed to win with white to get back into the tournament, but instead he lost a very painful game against Caruana. I don't know who is helping Alireza Firouzja, who are his seconds, but they are doing a very bad job. I'm sorry. Look at this. In this position, in a Catalan very well known, instead of the typical castle, he went for a strange move, queen d3. Well, I mean, the move may be not so good, not so bad, but when you play something very weird, you have to know it very well. I mean, you can play normal moves, the best moves, and maybe you follow the main games and nothing really to worry. But if you play some shitty moves, I'm sorry, you need to know it very well. I mean, and after queen d3, look what happened. Nepo was thinking for a while, and he reacted in a very natural way, breaking on c5, trying to use the fact that white played this strange move queen d3, getting behind on development, castle, take, and knight c6. These three moves are very natural from black. And now what happened? That white got to think 12 minutes. Now, this cannot be true. I mean, you cannot play this queen d3 and then start to think after black played three natural moves. In fact, things started to go wrong for white. Black, in my opinion, completely equalized. And a few moves later, black is going to be already slightly better. After this precise move e5, look what happened. They trade some pieces, and suddenly we have a position where black is slightly better, the bishop is better, the knight is better, there is some square invasion, and the white queen is out of play on h5. So it was a very strange preparation from Firouzja. Now, according to the computer, the best move was b4. It makes a lot of sense, trying to make some pressure on e5. If black takes, white can take on e5 and equalize. Instead, white played rook d7 and bishop h3. I don't know what he missed, because Caruana went very precise f5. The point is that if bishop f5, queen e8, and white is not in time to regain the exchange. Of course, he has some compensation, but probably not enough. And in the game, Firouzja played e takes f5, looks like some compensation because some attack on the white squares, but really Caruana was very cool, played very well, and very soon he's going to be clearly better. I mean, at any moment could Firouzja get a real compensation for the exchange, and very soon he's going to be almost losing here. Already he's king in a very bad shape, and okay, a few moves later black won. So this was a very bad news for Firouzja for his chances, and good for Caruana, jumping to +2 with some, well, I mean, fantastic tournament so far, 2 wins for draw for the North American player. But there was another surprise on this 6th round, was Nepo winning with white against Jean-Christophe Duda. And again here I have to blame the young players for this quite bad preparation. Look, after 2 moves, Duda was already thinking 6 minutes to play bishop g4. And well, I mean, I don't care if Nepo doesn't play this very often, this reti, but you need to be well prepared against everything. I remember when working for Vladimir Kramnik, he always had some idea. Doesn't matter, you could not surprise him. I mean, he has always something maybe unexpected for the opponent, maybe that he was checking quite well, maybe some sideline to survive one game. You cannot start to think here, I mean, move 2. And especially my feeling that he was doing badly was confirmed in move 9 in a very theoretical position. A lot of games with this idea, 95, the point is very primitive. White wants to play g4, f4 and trap this bishop. It's a very simple idea, very modern, and white is doing quite well with this. And here black was thinking for 20 minutes. No, I mean, man, come on. I mean, you cannot invent chess. You need to be well prepared against opponents like young Nepomniachtchi. He played 95, and they were following a game as Villers-Karjakin for a long time. I mean, probably Duda didn't know that game. Of course, he was thinking a lot, and Nepo was very confident. 2 Russian players as Villers-Karjakin playing this in Vacancy 2018. So it was well known, all this stuff. And it's easy to understand why black didn't repeat this variation, because it looks very dangerous. I mean, look, white has this 4 against 3, and this majority looks incredibly dangerous. In that game, f5 was played. Probably Karjakin, he made a draw, but probably he was worst. And in this game, Duda went h6, and very soon he's going to be in very bad shape with this bishop. h4 was a very good idea. I mean, Nepo is playing brilliant chess. We have also to give some credit to young Nepomniachtchi, because he's playing very good chess, and at this moment he just won a piece with e6 and g6. There was one last chance for black. I mean, after gh7, he should probably take and go for the endgame with queen e5. In this endgame, maybe black can have some hopes to survive. But after king h8 and keeping the queens on the board, now white got a fantastic attack with a very good move on the 29th. Can you find it? A very precise move. Rook f5. Excellent. Very well played. Queen f5 goes into queen g7 mate. And, well, I mean, this is already lost. Nepo played very well, very precise, giving no chance to his opponent. And Duda resigned on move 35, when he's going to be met with rook g3, sorry, rook fg7 and rook g8, and this is going to be checkmate in a few moves. There was one more game on this round 6, which was a draw between Nakamura and Liren. Not so interesting. So after 6 rounds, we have a clear leader, young Nepomniachtchi with +3, Caruana +2, and well, Nakamura, Rapport, they have 50%, and the rest of the players already in negative. So so far, the 2 guys with more experience, Caruana and Nepo, probably the 2 opponents which Carlsen would hate more to play, they are leading, clearly dominating this candidates tournament in Madrid. I will be with you back again after the last round. My colleague Alexander Yermolinsky will cover the following rounds. I hope you enjoy a lot this tournament, and we keep learning with these very fantastic games. Thank you so much. Bye bye.